Hello, welcome to another episode of Undercurrent. I'm Deanna Cooney, your host. There are a number of avenues available for support for drug users. But what about the family and friends affected by those users? Laura investigates the support options available to them.
Drugs and alcohol abuse does not just affect the lives of those using, but what about the people around them? In many circumstances, parents and loved ones are left to pick up the pieces. And with Western Australia being the highest methamphetamine capital in the nation, the damage continues to surge. I chat to Louise Kahan about her services and also gain insight from a reformed user.
It was seeking for answers that brought me into this field of business. I had family issues of my own, and I was looking to find a way through those and keep my mental sanity at the same time. So it led me to the Mental Health Commission, where I became a volunteer assisting parents who were going through similar situations as myself. I was fully educated by them, and so I assist by doing phone consultations with people, doing group work with education. I help at drug court, and also take a group once a month, families who want to come and just talk about what's been happening to them. So from there, I kind of found out that there were a lot of people that didn't want to join in a conventional way, and they were looking to have something of their own, somebody come to the house or somewhere where they could do it more in private, more confidentially than joining in with other people. And so kind of the business developed from there, and now that I see quite a few people at home, I've found that they get the results from that, as well as those who also go to the Mental Health Commission and get results in a different sort of way. So there's something for everybody out there.
So your services aren't just for drug users, it's also support for the family. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the clients you get?
My service is particularly for those who are looking after family members or significant others who are affected or have problematic behaviour with drug or alcohol usage. And what I aim to do is to teach people how to respond differently to this situation. You find that it's a highly emotionally charged situation. People are behaving differently to what they normally do, and of course you react to that, and your most fervent wish is please stop doing what you're doing and start living life the same as everybody else. But that's not always a reality, so you've got to learn to live your life around that. You've got to learn how to maintain some form of relationship with a person who's affected. I mean, that's a huge thing. There's a lot of school of thought out there, toss them out of the house, shut them down, don't do this, don't do that. But what I like to do is to try and teach you how to maintain a level of communication with that person, because it may well be later on in life that that person decides to change their ways.
So at what point are you finding clients are reaching out to you?
Well, the reality is that most people wait until things are really, really desperate before they do anything about it, and they're tearing their hair out and they've tried everything, and it doesn't matter the age group either. It could be somebody who's a teenager, it could be somebody who's married with children and there are issues with children, it could be somebody who's been single and they're in their 30s or 40s and the parents are still maintaining some semblance of lifestyle with that person, cushioning them all the way along. But my advice to anybody who, number one, suspects that they might have somebody in the family who's dabbling is to get some education straight away. If it escalates, then they've got all the tools on hand to work with that. I have my own website, and everything about what I do is on that, and it's just my name, so it's easy to find, and I think you'll find it on the bottom of the screen, or if you can't, www.louisecahan.com.au.
Priscilla, tell us a little bit about your drug past.
So from the age of 13, I was a drug addict and alcoholic.
And what sort of effects did this drug past have on your family?
Oh, it tore them apart. My nana really tried for years and years to help me and sort of did everything and tried to send me everywhere, and the rest of the family, it tore the family apart because they didn't want her to spend so much time and money and effort on me. And my mum and I, we didn't have a relationship. It was non-existent for 33 years, sorry. But now we have the best relationship ever since going to rehab.
Was there any sort of comfort or support for her while she was going through this?
To be honest, she sort of withdrew herself from the whole situation. My dad and my nana were the main ones that were there for me. I don't believe they had any support. Perhaps there were some help groups that I don't really know, because I was so out of it. I was removed from reality.
You can't expect a quick fix for something that might be ongoing, but have the right attitude, have the right tools, and then you can be asked for help, and then you are the person who is the most valuable one. Who better to help someone than someone who loves you?
This has been Laura for Undercurrent.
Along with the emu, the kangaroo is one of Australia's national icons. So, should we be eating it? Max Larkin investigates.
There has been a lot of talk surrounding the use of kangaroo meat, and whether or not we should be hunting them is an entirely different question. What I want to find out is, what does roo mean to Australia?
Just to introduce myself, John from Mahogany Creek Distributors. We're a full game meat distributor here in WA, or in Perth. We've been doing this for 30 odd years, and in doing so we cover a full base of game meats. So whether they be wild shot, farmed, whatever it be, anything that we can get our hands on in that field, that's what we do supply.
Do you have any advice for the government and major companies when managing our population?
There is a lot of kangaroo in Australia that can be resourced and put through into a very good food group. It's high in everything, you know, iron and all those sort of things. If I have to give advice to someone, learn to manage a resource and don't destroy it. Kangaroo has the ability to be one of our great export quality things. Can kangaroo be up there with mutton or lamb? Yes, it can. Can it be up there with goat today? Yes, it can. It can be there as good as any resource.
Commercially, kangaroos have been harvested in Australia for a very long time. It's worth about $174 million across Australia as far as meat and skins and other products from kangaroos is concerned.
The resource that we can move forward with from these two groups, so human consumption or pet food, yes, we can manage it really, really well, and we can make a lot of money out of it.
Should we be cowed from negative press and the associations they're making with kangaroo, or is there another side to the story?
We need to learn that if we follow a good, healthy cultivation of this product, we can go a long way with it. We can really go a long way with it. The kangaroo is such a fussy eater. It does not destroy anything it stands on. It eats the tops off little shoots in the bushes and then moves on. Kangaroos can be managed, and we can have a great resource.
There's obviously groups who oppose kangaroo harvesting for their own reasons, but I think generally, as I've mentioned earlier, it's a very well managed and controlled industry. The abundance of kangaroos in Australia since European settlement, as far as improved pasture and water is concerned, has meant that there's been many times the increase of kangaroos in Australia to what there was when there was white settlement. Of course, those numbers now need to be managed. And I know in Western Australia particularly, a major processor had shut a few years ago. So a lot of commercial kangaroo harvesters now aren't harvesting any longer because it's no longer viable for them. Kangaroos are a national icon. I think every Australian has kangaroos dear to their heart. It's one of the most recognised wildlife animals that we have in the world. And certainly I think, as far as every Australian would agree, kangaroos are important to our image. But like all animals in other countries, whether that be the US or Canada, they do use hunting to manage their wildlife, whether that be bears or elk or other animals which are native to those countries, but they still undertake management programs through hunting programs and making sure that the numbers are balanced.
Should we be worried about the kangaroo population?
No, you shouldn't be worried about the kangaroo population, because the kangaroo population could come back in a blink. It's as simple as that. The resource is very, very big. So you could have it bounce back in the blink of an eye.
Anyone who's studied abundance numbers of any animal around the world would understand that once numbers get higher than they should be, there's usually a consequence of that. So if kangaroo numbers get too high in a particular area, they will eat all of the vegetation, creating environmental damage as far as the impact of their grazing is concerned. And of course, if there's not enough food, they'll start to starve out and the numbers drop off, which is a natural way of kangaroos to, their numbers to be balanced out. So by having an industry as we do with commercial kangaroo harvesters, and the federal government doing its abundance calculations to make sure that we take out sustainable numbers, we actually manage the wildlife and the environment to a good standard. Kangaroo meat, of course, is a very healthy choice of food for people. It's 98% fat-free, and I think as far as the environment's concerned, kangaroos don't have the same emissions as cows and sheep.
I'm not the type of person to tell you what to eat, and kangaroos are more than food, but we as a culture need to keep a close eye on how our government deals with Skippy.
This week on Vox Pop, Tay Wickland asks Perth commuters what they think of the treatment and professionalism of Transperth staff.
Today I'll be asking the City of Perth how they feel about our current public transport system, in particular, potential treatment by public transport staff. So have you had any experiences with Transperth at all?
Yes, every day. I'm always catching the train and always catching the cat buses and whatever else I've got.
Yeah, I catch the bus into the city most days to work and then also use the Red Cat pretty regularly.
No, not really. Have you had any negative experiences where you've paid for the wrong ticket, or or you've forgotten to tag off or something like that?
No, I haven't. No, if I forgot my ticket, I just buy one. So I haven't had any real problems.
No, not at all. No, they're usually all very, very helpful.
So you haven't had any negative experiences with Transperth staff?
No, I'd say all of them have been pretty positive.
When I was at uni, there have been times where I would get to a train station and I don't have my smart rider on me. At those times, because I haven't gone on and then got into trouble when I'm coming off, I've been really honest with them. They've actually been pretty accommodating, and they said, look, we'll write you a little thing to say, hey, it's fine for now, just go on, do your trip and show this to the transit guard at the other end. So they've been really accommodating.
Some people are complaining that the Transperth staff are just a little bit over the top whenever you've forgotten to tag on or you've paid for the wrong type of ticket or something like that. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I don't live in that world where I'm on concession or anything, so I got my what do they call it, smart rider, and I just tag on, tag off. I make sure I follow the rules, so I don't have any run-ins with the staff.
No, look, I think they're pretty fair. Obviously, when I used to travel to work on the train, a lot of people who didn't buy a ticket and they clearly thought they could get away with it, and they didn't. But look, I think on the whole they're pretty fair to people.
I'd probably defend them a bit. They probably see that fairly regularly, and you can imagine having contact with hundreds of public members every single day. Your patience would run thin a little bit. So my experiences with them have always been very, very positive, and they've always been very helpful.
I guess I think they do a good job, but to be honest, I haven't been on Transperth for quite some time now.
And I guess because these guys are in uniform, they seem a lot like that. I mean, I remember a few years ago in Melbourne where all the ticket inspectors used to wear these big black trench coats, and there were about 6 of them get on the tram all together, and it was pretty confronting. But no, look, these guys are pretty good, and I think it's more the uniform that makes them look a bit confronting.
Everyone has a job to do, and without us paying for all this public transport, we don't actually get it. People seem to sort of forget that if you're not paying for things, that they just don't happen. So, and those guys, it's their job to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a financially functioning public transport system.
I'm Tay Wickland for Undercurrent.
Don't change the station. We'll be back after this short break with more stories on Undercurrent.